Hi, I'm Maya from Hyperscale College. Please introduce yourselves and tell us why the people of Kildare should vote for you.
Thanks, Maya, for your question. I've been out at Hyperscale many times, for awards, and I think it's an amazing school. And there's lots out there that is worthy of, the work, particularly active travel and biodiversity work you're doing. Why you should vote for me? My name is Bill Clear. I am your local councillor here in Naas. I am chair of Naas Tiny Towns, and I'm also involved in the biodiversity group. Climate action is very, very important to me. I know quite a few of you here, and my record stands for itself on climate action. To do with active travel as regards walking and cycling, I'm willing to make the hard decisions when decisions need to be made, and stand up and say this is the right thing to do. I was the chair of the Climate Action Special Policy Committee. The Policy Committee in the Council determined what the Council does going forward. And Peter Hamilton, a Green Councillor, he was, and myself, we worked together on what's called the Climate Action Plan and the Work Plan. The Work Plan was a really important bit. It's like the work that the Kildare Council has to do going forward in all its actions, in their buildings, in their transport, in the people, their staff travelling to work. So the reason I think you should vote for me is because I have a very strong track record, and if I get elected as a independent TD, I will be holding the government to make sure that they continue on and with their responsibilities under the National Climate Action Plan. I know it intimately, so I know what's involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Don't like the table being there because I feel a little bit disconnected from me. But Nisha O'Carroll is my name, so I'm a county councillor for the past 10 years in Maynooth. And I started my political career literally in your positions. I was in transition year, and there was no playground in my hometown of Maynooth. I had 3 younger sisters, and I was campaigning for a playground. And I was also then part of Corlin and Oak and Dawn and Oak. So that really sparked my interest in politics. And from there, kind of everything took off. I went to university, and then after university, I got elected to Students' Union with a big push on climate action when I was in university, and similarly when I was in secondary school as well. And since then, I was elected when I was 24, so not a million miles off what you are now, believe it or not. I know it might seem like a million miles away, but it's not. And since then, I've been really active when it comes to climate, but also to improving my local hometown of Maynooth. So I've been able to bring in more active travel schemes like the North-South Corridor, which has brought cycle lanes from one part of the town all the way up to secondary schools to help young people and people in general be able to cycle rather than get lifts, rather than getting cars to school, and try and reduce our carbon. I've also been able to I've been on the Special Policy Committee with Bill on the climate action, and was able to get the new to classify it as a decarbonisation zone. So that's a huge, ambitious target for us in Maynooth, and it'll be the template for the rest of the towns in Kildare and hopefully for Ireland as well. I've also been really involved with Fridays for Future. I don't know if anybody here was involved with Fridays for Future. I used to go to all of those every Friday in Maynooth. And similarly, it has a huge impact on all of our lives. And I'm really eager to hear what you have to say today, what your opinions are. Happy to take any question you like, but I'd love to know what you think as well, because you are the future. We're here trying to mold the future and trying to improve the future, but really the future belongs to you. So that's why it's really important to hear your voices and your opinions today. All right, thanks.
Evie.
Hi everyone, Evie Salmon. I'm from Naas here, went to school in St Mary's across the road there, and living just on the outskirts of Naas. So I suppose growing up in Kildare all my life, I know we have challenges here in the county and the constituency, and I know we have opportunities as well. So I suppose things that I want to work on if elected is really looking at our transport system, looking at how Salon's train station works and improving the amount of trains that get to Salons through the Dark Plus, and then also looking at our bus routes. And one of the things on the council that I've been working on is an orbital bus route for Naas, and pushing the NTA to deliver that. So I was also connecting greenways to our towns and villages, rather than just focusing on our big town centres, and connecting them to recreational spaces as well. So being able to get to Curtistown Park on foot rather than just by car. Yeah, I suppose another thing that I'm really passionate about that might resonate with some of you is our water in the county. I grew up in Ballymore Eustace, where we have the biggest water treatment plant at the moment, and unfortunately Uisce Éireann are the biggest polluter of water in this country at the moment. I've taken them to task a couple of times on the council. The council have brought them to court and they've been fined, but it's something I'm really passionate about, getting our waterways clean. And making sure that our drinking water is secured for the future. So I suppose there's some of the issues I've worked on locally. I'm mum to a 16-month-old daughter. I'm married to a leash man, a blow-in, who had to move up to Kildare with me. And yeah, really looking forward to hearing from you today. I suppose when I was in St Mary's, I was on the student council there, and I think it's great for students to be able to use their voice to make a change locally. And I really encourage you to speak up today and ask us as many questions as possible. Thanks.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for the invite this morning. It's really lovely to be here. My name is Aidan Farrelly, and I'm the Social Democrats candidate for Kildare North. Why people should vote for me, I would hope to think that, so in 2015, 2014 actually, I was very lucky enough to take up a position as a youth worker here at Naas Youth Project, which is down on Basin Street behind the kind of courthouse. And for many years I worked with young people in groups, in one-to-one basis, and the same types of issues kept coming up. And we felt that young people, certainly when it comes to climate and many others, that young people have held the hands of adults towards embracing these issues. Now, I think it's a perfect example of what we're here to talk about today. And we kept finding ourselves in conversations talking about structural inequality or systemic differences within society. And I kept saying, well, I was encouraging young people to be empowered, use your power, use your voice, and go and try and seek that change. And I eventually got sick of hearing myself say it, whilst not doing something about it myself. So in 2019, I put myself forward for the local council, and was very lucky enough to get elected then and regain that seat then this year in 2024. I'm really passionate about youth participation and about young people in Ireland having a voice when it matters at policy, at decision making fora, and I've tried to navigate ways around increasing that at the council, and it's a certain value of mine that I think drives me in my politics. I think we need to value young people absolutely, like it's been said, as the future, but also as the present. You know, young people matter today, and young people's opinions and issues matter today, and that's why I'm really excited to hear the questions, to engage. And I have to say, having gotten to know my colleagues at this table, certainly this very specific group of people that are here this morning, we are on very similar pages when it comes to a lot of issues. So we focus in politics quite often on what makes us different, but I think I can attest to the 5 people that are here, we have an awful lot in common when it comes to the issues that we're going to speak about today. So really looking forward to engaging more today.
Thank you, and good morning. My name is Vincent P. Martin, and I'm your Green Party candidate. And there are lots of candidates, you couldn't get them all into this room, but to congratulate the conveners and the organisers for putting together this particular high-powered set of candidates. They have to be the coolest and the trendiest and possibly the best looking, with the exception of myself. So and it's really good to see them here today, and they're all my friends as well. And I could spend time extolling their virtues. You didn't even mention your National Youth Council role, which has been incredible. And I've worked with all these folks. And Bill said at the end of the table, he mentioned my Green Party colleague Peter Hamilton, that he worked in that committee. And I can tell you firsthand from Peter that he had a super working relationship with Bill. Sorry, we're talking myself. So, we're growing up together, and time is rolling on. And I remember you in primary school. And the next time there's a general election, do you know what? Some of you could be at this table. It'll be legally possible at that stage to stand for election. And I hope you are for the Green Party. Or someone about it. So, why vote me? Well, I think you should vote for these guys. I really do. But also have room for the Green too. All these folks are going to be on my ballot paper. But I believe with the extra seat, there's room for a Green TD. There's an extra seat in the constituency. There's 14 extra in the country. We're going up to 174 TDs over 5 years. it will be the wrong signal to you and to your younger brothers and sisters if there's no green voice in that Dáil. And I'm a realist. And if you look at the opinion polls, it's not even the opinion polls, it's the history of small parties, Planet's Morning or whatever, Labour Party in the past, or the reasons for going, when they went to power, sometimes they take a wallop. And I'm the last Green standing in the county, and I think there's room for a different perspective. I have a track record of heavy duty stuff that's so important to me. It's not in the media, but protecting victims of domestic violence, and some of those changes have happened. But I also am a voice to champion the native Irish honeybee, and I think there's room for that in 170 40 days of the Dáil. I got my bill through every stage in the Shannon, but now it's triggered, it's gone to the Dáil. You need someone in there to pick up that bill and to finish the job. So I also did one on the need for environmental impact assessments for big environmental projects. I believe you have to take people with you, and people shouldn't be afraid and should have the utmost confidence in the big environmental projects, and we should never be finger pointing or finger wagging at people. As a Green, I don't ever like to turn citizen against citizen and say, oh, did you go on holidays last year? Were you on an aeroplane yourself? Oh, that's terrible. That's not the way, that's not how you fix global warming. You don't turn on each other. You look for seismic modal shift at national level. Now, you can still be a wonderful role model and inspire like you've done here, but if you just look at the Greens and what we did there, €1 million a day spent on active travel, and it's happening now, but it's happening very slowly. You'd want so much more. This time we're saying we spent 10 billion on public transport. It's slow, but it's happening. The arts was incredible, and love supporting our artists. There's now a basic income scheme for artists. It's because of the Green Party. It's made the front page of the New York Times, and lots of other stuff as well. But I'm just asking you to think. Look forward to your questions, by the way, and thank you for having me here today. Thank you for the excellent fellow candidates and the camaraderie that's building up amongst us. Some of us will not be successful on that day, but I hope everyone sticks at it and consider their lack of success not a failure, but a postponement of a success at a later stage. I think this is already a success, elections, triggering a conversation. Like my last bill in the Shannon, it didn't even get to the second stage, but I started a conversation. I got the esophageal cancer fund into the Dáil and lots of media attention over detecting early stages of cancer. So that's it, folks. I'm looking forward to your questions. Vincent and Martin from the Green Party.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you. That was fantastic. And what I will say as well is that, as Vincent pointed out there is one extra seat this year. So there are 5. But certainly I'm sure that one or more of you will be getting in, because there's 15 seats and we have 5 of our elected candidates.
I think you handpicked us today. This is
So we're going to continue on. As I said, you can keep the answers fairly direct. And we'll start now. If you can, when you're introducing your name and yourself, if you could stand up and ask your question, please. So number 3, question 3. Who's question 3? Okay, let's move on. Question 4.
Hi, I'm Emma from Gaelclosh Kildara. The UNESCO 2023 survey found that 96% of young people are concerned about climate change and feel not enough is being done to tackle it. How do you plan to change this?
Thank you very much. So for young people, I when this club started off first, the club itself, I knew a lot of you, and I was involved in IE. So he looked for funding on LPT, and I was myself and Vincent actually gave you some money, and I think that was something we saw the future of it. So as a young person at the club, it gave us great hope, and it put a lot of pressure with your demonstrations around the town. I think it was excellent. And the one thing for young people that's going to be the most immediate effect on you fairly soon is public transport. That's something that's going to come hot and heavy very fast. And we are seeing students trying to go to college, and we are seeing young people we were in Maynooth doing a similar to this, and there was one girl from Johnstown Bridge, and she had to commute in her car every day to Maynooth. The reason she had to do this is because the public transport system was not there or unreliable. And for young people, that's what you're going to really feel the most soon, and we need to get that right. So we're finding things like bus stops have disappeared all of a sudden, and then for some reason they'll be coming back at some stage. That has to stop. Bus routes that I believe are random and seem to be going from places to places without any data backing it up that says, okay, people want to go from A to B. And then, like, for instance, in Dublin, you get into the Houston station on the train, and the bus is not there to go to university or to college or whatever to work. So I think that's the biggest effect, and that's something that I will be working really hard for ye. Prior to this, I would have been heavily involved with outside here is Poplar Square, which was developed during COVID, and I would have been one of the few advocates for it because I saw the potential and I presume at all stages, young people throughout the years since it started, thousands and thousands and thousands of you have sat there and met your friends and your family at different times. So it's something that I actually actively will do because I know you like meeting, talking, gathering, hanging out, and I think that's very important to me in that thing. And that was a difficult situation. We had to remove 25 parking spaces, and I can tell you they didn't like it. And to this day, I still get it on the door. But I think if you do the right thing, stick with your convictions and do it. So as you know, from a young person's point of view, all I would say to you is something that concerns me a lot is this fast fashion. I know a lot of the fast fashion stuff is almost all plastic, and I am concerned about that. But that would be something I would be highlighting, try to get rid of. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Emma, Margaret. And look, it's concerning to see 96% of young people are worried. And a lot of the time it's about the uncertainty in the future, right? We don't know what's coming down the track, and the important thing is that we do all we can to ensure that we have the best future possible. And I do want to, Vincent was giving compliments to everybody. I want to give Vincent a compliment, the Fairness to Green Party. I think they have played a pivotal role in government in changing, actually, particularly in the programme for government over the past 4 years, in trying to decarbonise and actually push the green agenda. And I think they've had a huge impact in a short space of time. They've taken a lot of flack over it, but they've been doing, and they've brought Fianna Fáil and indeed Fine Gael on that journey with them. And I think there has been a lot done, but communication is key. I think it's really important that we share with young people the work that's being done and how we think that's going to have an impact. So it's all well and good saying X amount of tons of carbon are being saved. What does that mean really, right? And I think we probably need to change our messaging a little bit. We probably need to improve our communication. And I think by doing that, we're bringing young people on the journey with us. And by bringing young people on the journey, and also you're part of that journey, right? As I said earlier on, this is your future as well. It is your future, and the important thing is that you have a role to play in that and a part to play in that. And so I think communication is key, and introducing more policies that help the climate. As Bill said, and I'll finish now, particularly around transport, I think that's one of our big things we really need to improve.
Thanks a million. Yeah, Emma, look, I completely agree, and I think sometimes we have this idea that it's protecting the planet for the future, but 17 degrees on Halloween isn't normal. So we're feeling it right now. The flooding that we're seeing across the world isn't normal. So again, we're feeling it right now. So I suppose my view would be that we need a cross-departmental approach, not just a department that focuses on climate, but we need a section in every department across government that is talking about climate. And that comes down to how we're building schools, how we're delivering infrastructure, how we're delivering public transport, how we're securing our energy for the future as well. We need to be focused on offshore. And we really need to build on that as well. How we support industries to decarbonise. And then looking at the circular economy as well, and that fast fashion piece. At the start of 2023, my online shopping had been pretty bad, probably from COVID, and then I had a baby, so I was sitting at home feeding a baby, and you're open to scrolling and all of that. So I made a conscious decision to stop online shopping, and it's way easier than I actually thought it would be. Most of what I'm wearing today is from Naas, some is from charity shops locally, but it's also how to support second-hand clothing stores. And I work with a woman who runs Jenny Vander in Dublin. It's a vintage store, and she has great ideas on how we support second-hand clothing and bring that circular economy actually to fruition. I think the carbon tax needs to stay. I know some people have said to take it away, but I don't think that's an option. I think it has to stay. And then the other thing is our waste management, how people recycle and how we deal with the waste in the country, and also our water. It's a huge issue for me that, and I think it's really disappointing that the state is the biggest polluter of our rivers and lakes at the moment. Even the canal here in Naas, we really need to look at water quality, and with that, we're looking at biodiversity in water as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the question. I'll try to keep it nice and brief. I think some of the major political movements over the last number of years tend to become quite binary in our choice. We tend to be either in or out, or black or white, or pro or anti. And I think in terms of the climate issue, what we have seen in more recent times is an attempt to try and make the climate either pro or anti-climate, and we can't really allow that narrative to come in. We can't question the science. I think we have to be very conscious that we keep the science and the facts on the table and not allow that narrative to creep in where we start to doubt what it is about the climate that is so scary. I think we do that in two ways. And I remember watching videos of this man beside me a couple of years back, standing outside Dunn's, I think, and he was trialling this return scheme where you brought your bottles back and you received a token for it. I was like, what's this about? And now that has become a national thing, and culture and behaviour has changed straight away when you incentivise that change. So I think incentivizing people and trying to really bring people to the table to be able to make those behavioural changes, I think is really important. Secondly, it's education, and it has to be education. And usually when we say education, we assume that's for children and young people. It's the opposite. The education actually has to be for the generations that go above you in terms of age, because I think we're all on the same page. Well, I can't say me, I'm not me, but in terms of teenagers and young people, there's wide acceptance of what the issue is. Whereas the challenge is actually for people more my age in their 30s and 40s that are starting to maybe question it.
Thank you. There's a documentary which I've never seen yet called 7 Up. Has anyone ever seen that? No? And it captures a gang of you guys and it interviews you every 7 years where you are in life. So you could be potential material for that documentary. Every 7 years. And one, you could be in a part of the world that it needs a severe flood. Middleton was lucky in Cork. We saw what happened in Valencia, Barcelona, and Malaga last week. So, but we must have hope. We can't scare people about the huge challenge we face, and hope comes in the form of maybe the people at this table, but more importantly, you guys. So just two things how to turn this around, maybe. Collaboration, as Nisha kindly said, and it's Evie's party as well. The changes that happened were allowed to happen by a collaboration of the two bigger parties supporting it, supporting the Green Party in a stable government. And I'm convinced that's the way forward. We're all in this together and we're stronger together. The second point I'd make is how to get people on board is don't do the green police thing. Once or twice some canvassing and so Vincent P.O., we don't normally burn down tires. They think I'm going to report it to the HSE or something. I just don't get it. I'm just a politician who happens to be the Green Party. I'm not the Green Police. And you must bring people with you on that journey. And perhaps if I had to pick one more, how we can turn this around, is to tell people that going green puts money in your pocket. It's not to scare people. You are better off financially, the job opportunities, the cleaner, greener energy, etc., etc. Thanks.
Thank you. So question number 7, please.
Hi, I'm Roisin from Gaelcalosh Kildara. What's your favourite animal native to Ireland?
Maybe the hedgehog, or the native deer. It's lovely to see them.
Vincent Rob the Hedgehog, because I was about to say as well in terms of the resilience. We have a lovely kind of piece of shrubbery out our back garden and some hedging, and all the time we get visited by hedgehogs. And the kids took an absolute shine to them when they were really young during lockdown, and they're still in the garden every day, and we love to try and kind of provide what we can for them without trying to interrupt their daily life. So
You're lucky to have one.
Yeah, you took my one. Yeah, we have 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, what's called, we have hens at home, and we've a hedgehog that has realised we have hens at home and comes in and kind of nearly nests with them. I don't know if it's the warmth or the food, but hedgehog or yeah, our native deer as well. Yeah.
Right.
A bit of an issue this time of year, but I don't mind having to stop the car to let them jump the ditches. So thanks a million.
The curlew. You ever seen the curlew? The bird? Yeah.
You're extinct.
Well, it's coming back.
Coming back.
Yeah.
Bill?
The native, the brown squirrel, I think, a red squirrel, sorry. I think I've only ever seen one, and it's shocking that we are at this stage, and the squirrels seem to have really bullied them out of it, you know. So, as the underdog here, and the independent, I feel like that. Not bullied, just the underdog.
The red squirrel has actually come back, by the way.
Making a comeback.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Roisin from Gaeltacht Kildare, and I was wondering, do you support the building of new data centres in Kildare?
Yeah, so I suppose in the Naas Local Area Plan and the Kildare County Development Plan, we'd have zoned for data centres. I suppose we've seen applications come in on land that isn't zoned for data centres, and I think we were measured in our approach on where we zoned, and that we shouldn't be going further with centres that are, or applications coming in for centres on land that we didn't decide. So I think we need to be measured. I'm sitting here on a phone, I have notes on a phone, I'm sure you all have phones here as well. So I think there is a need, but we knew what we were doing in our zoning process, and we were measured in keeping it at a certain amount, and I think it's disingenuous to the Naas Local Area Plan or to the County Development Plan to come in on land that isn't zoned and look for data centres.
Aidan.
Yeah, thank you. So the shortest answer is no, and I say that's my party's stance on it. They've raised significant concerns about the way data centres are operating currently, in terms of the waste, in terms of the energy that they need in order to run. But I also have to say that I know a lot of people who are employed to build and work and operate data centres. Their use in our society today is really valuable, and I am the biggest hypocrite because I rely on them more than many. But I think what we need to review is how they are operated, to continuously seek a more sustainable approach to them, because there's no going backwards in terms of their use and their energy, but there's always hope that there's an alternative way to fuel them.
Misha?
Yeah, I suppose Evie spoke about the Naas Local Area Plan and the County Development Plan, Roisin, when it came to data centres. And the difficulty when it comes to data centres is obviously the huge amount of energy that they use. Look, there is a need for data centres, there's no two ways about it. But what we really need to see is to see them adopting renewable sources and self-sourcing a lot of their energy and not being relying on the grid solely. So that's the same grid that you and I are using when we're charging our phones, turning the lights on at home as well. And we need to see them minimise their environmental impact. So what I would like to see when they actually go in for planning permission for any data centres, that there's an environmental impact assessment. So basically they'll come back and they'll say, look, this is the impact that we think we're going to have. This is how we think we're going to be able to reduce our impact on the environment. So that's my position on it.
Vincent.
And yeah, they are a huge consumer of energy, but they're vitally important, and the technology is all the time changing. So if they are the older style ones, absolutely not. But if they're the new ones and they can prove that they're carbon neutral, I don't hold them to a higher test than McDonald's, or any other business. They're so important. I'm not here to to beat them around the place. And the technology is all the time improving. And if I were satisfied that that technology was in place with independently energy generated possible, I'd be in favour of them. But not if they're going to, suck up loads and loads of energy.
And Bill?
Yeah, I've thought an awful lot about this, and I'm quite conflicted, and I'm sure you are, because we all use our phones and things. Data centres, we've zoned for them here in Naas, and I feel that because there are certain elements. So I went to a data center conference just to see and ask the hard questions. And so when somebody comes up and they work for the hospitals and they're looking to put their records online up in the cloud, I get that. I understand that. That's good banking as well, security. I get that. But when, to be honest, a Facebook post I put up 10 years ago, did that really need to be there? No. Just Twitter tweet, did they need to be there? TikToks that are now old, do they really need to be there? I think there's a lot of wastage of data in there that's unnecessary. That when we went all digital, we thought, okay, this is great. We get away from paper. We'll cut down trees. We'll use less paper and stuff like that. But now we're all into digital. Everything has to be digital. And apparently, in this data center, one is immediate, so that's your Spotify and your Netflix. One is medium storage, which just takes that every half a second to go, and then there's what's called glacial storage, which is something which is done. And I mean, honest to God, do we really need to have the records of things? Do we really need it? Because in a paper trail, you don't need that much. So I am conflicted. I'm personally, any data centers here that I see, I want district heating. So the excess heat that they give off goes to heating hospitals, goes to heating schools. Things are on during the day mostly. That's how I feel, and I think that's as Vincent said, being carbon neutral using renewable energies. I think that's the way forward. And to be honest, I think they get that too. I think they realise that they're going to have to do that too. So that's my thinking of anything.
On that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Sam and I'm from Piper's and my question to all of you is there's a big housing crisis in Ireland right now, and I was wondering if there's going to be more affordable housing when I'm trying to buy a house in the next few years.
We need to start now. We start that and Vincent.
Okay, and it's the biggest single issue in this election, and there's record, I'm sure the government parties will tell you, there's record constructions and completions, and that's because there's no houses built for so long. But to take a novel approach at a different perspective, the Green Party policy that we're really proud about is called the cost rental Vienna model, where the house is constructed at just the bare price, no profit, and you rent it to someone for their entire life, but they don't own it. And that immediately gets to crisis where people are forced to live with their parents in their home and can't start families with their own privacy and their own life. And we managed to get that into the programme for government, and 2,000 of those have now happened in Ireland. They're all over Europe, where the teacher, the guard, the doctor live side by side, and it's called the cost rental model. For all intents and purposes, you own it. We need to roll out so much more of them and so quickly. That's an angle that has not been pursued properly, should be.
So I think we're quite similar to what Vincent has said. In a really short answer, the private market really is where the vast majority of housing is delivered in Ireland, and that's a for-profit sector, so there's always a good healthy profit margin built into the development of housing as a commodity, as a business. In the Social Democrats, we feel that while that private market delivers, we need to see significant development of public and social affordable housing in order to remove that profit and to ensure that people who need housing and homes have that. So the private market can continue, but we need to really invest on public land, what would be public and affordable housing. It comes back to staff, it comes back to resources, it needs public investment in order to do that.
Yeah, so look, I agree we really need a mixed model. So we need private, we need affordable, and we need social houses. I suppose here in Naas we have land zoned for housing and like the different spots around the town, and then land zoned that if our numbers increase, that we can go and move on to that land straight away. We've 3 sites that are zoned for affordable housing. One is being built beside the council at the moment, and they're being advertised in April of next year. And then we have 2 sites that are hoping to go to planning. So that's the affordable side of things, and the Land Development Agency, or the agency building those houses. So I suppose the mixture is really important. Housing, Naas, there's been more housing built in Naas, I suppose, in the last 6 years than I think it's 4 or 5 of the Dublin postcodes put together. So Naas has really boomed. But it's not just building housing, we have to build communities around that as well, and a mixture of what we're delivering. I'm a little bit sceptical on the cost rental model. I agree there has to be some, and there is some being delivered on that Land Development Agency site. My only concern is movement of people. So like if families grow, or if your kids move out, ensuring that we have enough of a cost rental supply so that we can be moving people. We see in our social housing that we don't have that at the moment. So I'd be concerned that cost rental is going to end up the same as social, in that we don't have the movement from, say, a 4-bed into a 1-bed, or a 1-bed into a 2-bed.
So thanks, Anne. So housing, look, as you're aware, if you're politically engaged, but you obviously are, housing is a huge question. The Fianna Fáil took over the housing ministry 4 years ago. So when we went into government, and we put our hands up, we wanted to take the most difficult one, because throughout history, Fianna Fáil, the party have been able to deliver on housing, go back to the 60s and 70s. And when we took over the housing ministry, there was 20,000 houses a year being built. There's now 40,000, just close on 40,000 houses a year being built. Is it enough? No, there needs to be closer to 60,000 houses a year being built. What we really are looking at is a demand issue, right? And then a lack of supply. We need to ramp up the amount of supply. And as Evie said, if you look at Naas, Kill, Maynooth, South Leekson, North Kildare in general, we've taken over the vast majority of the new houses and dealt with a lot of the housing crisis. Not all of it, don't get me wrong, but we have really put our shoulder to the wheel as a county. What we've been lacking, and one of my big things in this election, as Evie touched on as well, is the lack of social and physical infrastructure. What I mean by that is GPs, schools, creches, sheltered housing for older people, trains, buses, etc. Because if you don't have those things, you don't have communities. So the housing issue isn't solely based on housing, right? We need to look at the infrastructural issues there as well to ensure we're building communities and not just houses.
Okay.
Thank you. As an independent, and not in any party, it's quite difficult for someone like myself to have a huge impact on national policy there, advocating. But on a local level, what I've done so far is I've taken an audit of all empty shops, houses, and sites in Naas and Salons, and found over 70 houses that were empty, and then using the council, so I logged them all the houses. That's down now to 32, right? By finding out who the owners are, finding out who the issues are, and then going to the council to some of them and getting them what's called compulsory purchase, and you see signs going up all over the place. That's it. So that is my way. And then living over shops, that's another huge thing for me. So I mean, when I was in college, I would have lived over shops in Cork. That was just a common thing to do. The immediate thing that's going to affect you is student accommodation when you go to college. It's too expensive. It's not there. Parents are paying out ferocious money for it, and then that puts a kind of a guilt thing on yourselves, and that's not fair. You're supposed to be in college, you're supposed to have a great time and enjoying yourself. So that's something student accommodation would be looking for. Just going back, there's over 2,000 empty houses in Kildare North. That's just too many. I mean, if we even started getting them down, it's less carbon to get them renovated. You're not building an existing house having an effect around. You don't even estate, they're there already. So something I'm pretty passionate about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So question 9, nice quick one here.
Hello, I'm Robert from Peppers Hill College, and I'm wondering if you guys would run as Taoiseach in the next few years.
We'll start with Aidan this time.
Yes.
You first.
Yes.
Yeah, good question, good answer. Nisha?
I'm wrecked. As a councillor, as a TD, I don't know how ministers and Taoiseach do it. And we're expecting our first child in February, so never say never, but right now I just need to get through this election first.
Bill?
No.
No. Evie?
Yeah, Nisha, if you think you're wrecked now, wait till the baby arrives. I'm a 16-month-old at home, so I'm feeling the pressure of this election. But yeah, look, I wouldn't rule anything out. I suppose the best thing I've done and the worst thing I've done in all of my political career is I don't know how to say no to anything. So I wouldn't rule it out. Thanks.
Vincent?
Well, you never say no, but it's not on the bucket list. But what's on the bucket list is that small parties historically, when they go into government, they get a huge wallop. And that's what I'm trying to insulate the Greens against at the moment, and trying to buck the trend and have a Green voice in the next hour. And for me, that would be a manifestation of being like a teacher. It's an equivalent to being challenged and trying to face.
Thank you. So question number 6.
Hi, I'm Ruby from St. Mary's. I was wondering, what are you going to do about biodiversity in Kildare? The No Planet people have recently had a campaign for the National Peatlands Park in Kildare in the Midlands. If you get in to government, will you try get this park?
What's been in the park?
National Peatlands Park.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And who did not start with before? Nisha?
Yeah. So have you been to Loch Bora in Offaly?
No.
It's a peatland park. It's a rewetted bog, and it's absolutely amazing. It's a really positive development in Offaly. It's rewetting of the bogs, and if we look at a lot of peatlands around Ireland and the rewetting of them, and they're being used and should be used as, first of all, tourist industry, but second of all, as part of the circular economy as well. So yeah, we're committed to obviously progressing the national peatlands. And also on that as well, so what we also have is, and I had it here, it was trees in our towns. So we look at biodiversity in general. We need to look at biodiversity in our towns and in our villages. And the initiative we plan on bringing in is trees in our towns, which is bringing more biodiversity into our town centres and into our village centres, rather than relying on the countryside and on our peatlands.
Brilliant, thanks, Nisha. Aidan?
Just to be very brief, I would absolutely support that. We've seen plans for that peatland park, and it's exceptional. It's something that we would really like to see come to fruition. A very tangible thing that we would look to consider if we were in government would be to bring the relevant Minister for Biodiversity in under the Department of Climate. Something that actually joins the dots a little bit and makes sure that the teams working in those departments would be harmonious and working together.
Bill?
Yeah, the Peatlands Park, yes, fully supported. My green friends, I'm not no criticism, nothing like that at all. Okay, but it was usually when you come to the end of a government, they make these big announcements of things getting over the line, and we were kind of waiting in bated breath to see would that happen at the last minute. But I'm sure it will happen. You know, they probably worked really hard for it. You know, and highlighted, and you've worked hard for it, of course. What I've done for groups like NFB is funding. I've been with you several times with a lot of your operations. I think you should get more funding, and I'd be very much open to that. In regard to pollinators, Tidy Towns, I'm in Tidy Towns Group and the Biodiversity Group, and we work very well together. All our plants now are moved towards pollinators, and the irony of it, you know, usually there are these what called annuals that have no pollinator value whatsoever. They look lovely all year round, but they've no pollinator for any biodiversity. So we're moving away from that, and I think that's probably why we came within 2 points of winning the national competition. So that works. That's the way we're doing it.
Thanks, Bill. And Vincent?
Yeah, it's a huge thing, biodiversity loss. Thinking of my bill, the native Irish honeybee, the blackbeet's the last stronghold in Europe, and it can be traced back to 3000 BC. There's a trace of bee wax in Galway. So it knocks out of the park the pint of Guinness. It's only a couple of hundred years old. The bee is who we are, and it's in trouble. That's one example. Every year in this county, people camp out at night time in camouflage tents to protect curlew as a ground nesting bird. The native indigenous curlew, there's less than 100 of them in Ireland, and fence them in and put up erect fencing to stop the predators. I'd like to support them in a more tangible way. But finally, the National Peatlands Park, and I know you made a brilliant presentation, Ruby, in Leinster House. I was there that day. The only way of that happening is that it becomes part of the programme for government promised. So I'm memorising the last programme for government negotiations, and I'm allowed to bring in outside people. So maybe when we're negotiating that, if the Greens are back, I could bring a delegation from you to sit in the room so you see how transparent it is. It's real politics, and can we get that into a future promised programme for government? Because the Greens are very good going to the other two parties as they are to say, yeah, promise this, we went in 6-2 BE, that hasn't happened yet. We went through our list, we delivered them. So that's the only guaranteed way it'll happen, being quite honest with you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't come in there. No, you're grand, you're all right.
Your
No,
first
just to
next
say, yeah, no, that's no problem. Yeah, absolutely support National Peatlands Park. And I suppose biodiversity, and Nisha touched on it there, has to start in our towns and villages. So supporting biodiversity groups and supporting tidy towns. There was a project done by the biodiversity group out in Ballymore Eustace recently on invasive species and stuff like that, where people are on the ground and they can be supported by the council, by the biodiversity officer to tackle issues like that is so important, and more of that is what we need.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Hello, I'm Nicholas from Piper's Hill, and I'm wondering what your favourite tree is.
Can I take this one? Can I take
Yes,
this?
sorry.
The oak, because we're in Kildare. I want to get that one in first.
Okay. Choose yourselves. Who's next?
Oh God, probably the oak tree as well. There's one in the front garden at home, so I have to go for the one that I wake up and see every morning. Thanks.
I'm struck, and I'm not trying to pivot away from it, but I'm struck by your conversation we had a couple of days ago. My two young lads play hurling, and they came home saying there's a real problem with the hurls at the minute and the sustainability of that. And it was a perfect example for me, like when we're talking about different tree types, that we're always moving, we're always actually evolving, and what was always a given in terms of that delivery is actually something that warrants a bit of attention. So it's important. We're not talking enough about trees. Probably certainly don't know enough about trees.
Yeah.
And I think it needs much more time and consideration. Yeah.
Okay. Vincent?
I suppose the season that's in it, the native holly tree.
Holly, lovely. Bill?
And the ash tree, I kind of feel sorry for it. It's had a real hard time over the years. First it was cut down for hurleys, and then it was hit by ash dieback, and now it's nearly extinct. In this SPC we got a talk on trees, and she highlighted how many trees are actually dying. We're nearly at 50%. You can see them around, and she showed us after looking out the window, that's dying, and you can see it all around us. And when trees, you'll see trees being cut down around it because they're dead. Council don't cut down trees; they don't want to. But when they actually get an arborist to look at it, which is an expert, and it's dangerous. They don't come down in a storm; they have to take it down, and it breaks people's heart, which is good. But we try to all the trees that we put back
We just
in
need to move on
are
there.
native trees. Thank you.
And I know it's really emotional. It's very hard not to expand on that because trees are so important, but we do move on. But thank you so much. Question 8.
Hello, I'm Owen from Galcalash, Kildare. We find the public transport system is not good in Kildare. Often buses are late or don't turn up at all. Do you have any plans to improve the accessibility of public transport in Kildare?
Evie, we'll start with you there.
Yeah,
And nice and quick again.
Yeah,
please.
no
Sorry.
problem. Yeah, agree with you. Commuted to Dublin for years for work and college. We need to see Dark Plus, and we need to see it actually delivered to South Kildare for it to make any real impact on North Kildare. And we need to be looking at orbital bus routes. All of our focus is bringing buses onto main streets, but orbital routes are so important as our towns expand outwards. Everyone living on the outskirts, everyone having to get to schools now on the outskirts. Orbital bus routes are going to play a key part of that.
Thanks, Evie. Vincent?
Absolutely, it's it's about reliability, quality, and service. The Greens in government, if you were for everyone, there's a 20% reduction first since 1947. For under 25-year-olds, the reduction has been 50% in your fare that you're paying, and under 9s it's absolutely free. We'd love to roll that out, but in a manifesto, for me, the standout aspect of a manifesto is the 10 billion we're going to spend to try to overhaul and have a proper transport revolution, because it's not hitting home yet. The fare reduction is great, but it's not enough.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, well, I personally think under 16s should be free. You don't pay on it, and I have been advocating for a long time now for a town bus scheme. We used to have one that goes from the town bus to the station, And the Dart Plus, it's shameful. It's shameful that they stopped the Dart Plus at Hazelhatch, and we won't see it before 2029. It's just wrong. We are the biggest urban centre of nearly 50,000 people here, and they stop short of 11 kilometres. It's just wrong, and some now will be working really hard as an independent TD to get moved on into Sonnins on this. Thank you.
Bill, in.
Thanks so much. Public transport was actually a major part of the first couple of years of my life as a public representative, because one of the major bus services changed kind of ownership from one company to another, and it was really littered with problems. So it's something I learned an awful lot about over those couple of years. And what we've seen with the local link buses is in the last few years, people have gone from 20,000 uses to 100,000 uses. So it's become really, really popular. And so when the service is there, people will use it. And I commend the last government for that, because I think that's been a huge difference. We just need to keep going with that. When it comes to public transport, I think the major parties really show that they're putting their money where their mouth is. We just need the National Transport Authority to come down hard when the service isn't working.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Margaret. I think everybody's has covered it, so I'll keep it very brief because I agree with everything everybody has said, but I think we need more local rural links, as Aidan has already mentioned. Like, I played a big role in getting the 139, which goes from Blanchstown to Maynooth to Naas, and obviously all the villages in between. So we need more like that. It's a huge service, really successful service, and so we need more like that just to encourage more people to use public transport.
Okay, excellent. Question 10.
Hi, I'm Ellen from St Mary's College, Naas. Ireland is rated low on the CCPI list, Climate Change Performance Index, compared to other countries around the world. Why is this, and what are your plans to tackle this?
So Bill, can start this then.
Why is this? I think there is a dragging the feet effect, which you'll find, and when people don't want to make the hard decisions, assigning a lot of money to it sounds good, and yeah, you are seeing changes here, to be fair, in cycling and active travel and buses. We are seeing it, but there's definitely, when hard decisions have to be made, particularly with agriculture, they're not getting made, and that is an issue. So transport is going to, I think, is going to be fine. Industry is coming on; they want to do it, but I just think that. And it's not my experience when I meet the farmers, the small farmers out there. It's not my experience. They want to do their bit, and if they were encouraged more to do it, they would do it. Their children want to take buses, but to turn up the buses stops are disappeared. Bus stops don't appear. So in rural Ireland, I've talked to a lot of people. I believe they have but from my own experience with my family and in farming, they want to do it, but the big operators do not want to do it, and they're going to do everything in their power to stop that. That's the problem.
Thank you. Nisha.
Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Ellen. Look, I think as a country we are far too dependent on the cars. I think there's a psychological thing there, right? We need to improve the public transport, as we've mentioned already, but I do think there needs to be some sort of incentivisation. We've seen with the bottom return scheme that incentivising people to make a change, although technically we shouldn't have to do that, but it does help. So I do think more incentivisations to help people to actually go greener, I think, will help massively. But I do think it's a psychological thing, particularly around the car dependency. I see it all the time. It's very hard to change people, particularly with, say, people with families, getting to school drop-offs, then getting to work, etc. When you have 2 or 3 children, I understand how difficult it is. So we need to actually look at how can we address that for the average working family.
Yeah, so I suppose part of it, I think, is that we are an island, and countries, I suppose, on the continent in Europe have been able to beg and borrow from each other, whereas we're out here on our own. So I suppose that's an element of why we're maybe a little bit behind, but we have made good strides. As I said earlier, I think it's cross-departmental. I think energy is a huge part of it now at this point. We have to look at the benefit of also being an island as well, and really utilise that, and then incentivising industries to decarbonise.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think ultimately we haven't taken collective responsibility or leadership for it yet. I think parts and cohorts of our communities have. Other parts are hoping it goes away and that they don't have to ultimately change some of those core behaviours. I think we can't understate the idea of climate justice and the fact that climate change impacts cohorts of our communities very differently, and so from a policy perspective I think we need to be able to ensure that those who can't afford to change to EVs are facilitated to do so, or from a fashion perspective that we try to look at reducing the price of shopping locally in order to that we can kind of stay away from some of those other methods that are doing so much damage.
Yeah, and pegged on our 2019 rating, we're going to find it very hard to make our target in 2030 of 51% net reductions, although the bigger picture in 2050 is looking more promising of becoming net zero. It's going to be really hard. There's a strong encouragement, I would say, in the last figures. This year, it's just about 7% reduction year on year in carbon emissions, which is exactly where it should be, going forward. And that's allowing for a growing population and a growing economy. So I'd like to think that if the Greens weren't there, that we are playing our role, and I'd be worried if we weren't there. Also, the good news, yesterday we jumped 14 places in the world countries performances. We vaulted up 14 places, so we're no longer the climate laggard.
Thanks, Vincent. Who else has a question? Well, Emer, anyone else? Or is that it? Okay, last question.
Hi, I'm Emer from St Mary's. What support do you think could be put in place locally for more climate action and to support clubs like No Planet B?
We did talk a little bit about that earlier, so just anything you might want to add, and we'll start Vincent this time.
Well, just more and better, and all action is local, and while we need leadership at national level, we need to support groups like No Planet B. We must elevate them, put them at the top table of the decision making. Like I said, in the programme for government negotiations, they should see that firsthand themselves and sit down with me when we're negotiating with that government. Thank you.
I think we could make it a lot easier to draw down funding and resourcing, and take away a lot of the kind of application and report writing process. I think for groups like that, I think it would be a really helpful tool to maybe resource the work.
Yeah, absolutely, using council funding and council staff and resources. Like, we have biodiversity officer, we have a climate action team, and so using those resources for local groups, more of that, and then linking in with the PPN, the Public Participation Network, and making sure that there's a voice for climate on all of our strategic policy committees.
Yeah, thanks, Emer. So, Kildare County Council is actually the lead authority when it comes to climate action in this region, so we need to lean heavily on that. Also mentioned, Maynooth is a decarbonised zone, decarbonised town. We need to expand that once that's kind of been implemented into other towns and really roll it out. And obviously, funding and access to funding is a key part of it.
So I went to a climate action conference actually in Killashee, organised by Kildare County Council, and it was excellent. Some of the talkers were brilliant. So I have asked several times, could we do that for TY students for all the schools, in say Osprey. I don't think that's a big ask. I think that's something we should really push, and if the groups came together like No Planet B, Biodiversity Group, Tyne Towns, I think we could really make it a success, and we could all be part of that too. So maybe we'll start. Maybe this will be where we started.
Okay, thank you. And that's all the questions, but just before we finish up, we're just on the line here. Aaron wanted to say a few words.
Yeah,
from
30 seconds. Thanks everyone from political establishment and non-establishment. Sorry, thanks to all the politicians for speaking today. And thanks to all the TYs, I think, especially for bringing your questions and your energy and your enthusiasm. I think that really made a lot of energy in the room, and I think it was great to hear the responses from the political parties and independents. I just wanted to plug very briefly the Friends of the Earth Climate Pledge that we have put out for the general election. There are 5 main asks on it that we're asking all candidates to sign up to. Firstly, upholding the climate law at home and championing fast and fair climate action abroad. Every party here I know has signed the climate law or voted for the climate law when it was first brought to the in 2021, and we're asking that people commit to meeting those targets. As Vincent said, we're kind of not on track to meet those targets, and I think it's really important that all parties and independents take a stand to say that we're going to reach those, and also take a leading role in things like the COP negotiations, which are ongoing. There's 4 more kind of domestic aspects, more specific, which are kind of all covered today, but we're asking people to sign up to fast and frequent public transport for all, renewable energy for Irish households and not big tech. Every kind of inch of renewable capacity that's been built up over the last number of years has been absorbed by the growth of large energy users like data centres. If we need to decarbonise, we need that energy to be prioritised for ordinary people. A fair deal for farmers to restore nature and biodiversity and meet their needs. And warm homes for all, so kind of expanding the retrofitting programme, leaving no one behind. And I think in particular, one thing we're working on in Friends of the Earth is around making sure particularly tenants are not left behind. So the private rental sector, housing came up today. housing is increasingly an issue. There's more and more tenants. They have no agency to retrofit their homes. There's no incentive for landlords to do it. There's no penalties for landlords not to do it. And social housing targets for meeting social housing retrofitting are inadequate. And we're calling for all parties to commit to retrofitting all social housing to a minimum B2, BER standard by 2030. So I know Niamh has sent on that pledge already. I know some people have signed that pledge already here. I won't say who and who has not. It is up on our website, but I would encourage that if you've not signed the pledge, to do so, because we want to see, as people have been saying, a consensus on climate action across the political spectrum, and for us to, not go back into that laggard kind of position that Vincent mentioned. So hopefully if you get a chance you can sign it. Thanks.
Okay, right. Well, once again, we want to first of all thank our fantastic politicians. Really, really appreciate you being here and wish you all the best with your campaign. We just give them a round of applause.